Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So today we will be discussing Ashton's short story Lurking Assumptions, inspired by the song Betty by Taylor Swift. Now, before we get into the actual story, do you want to give a brief little summary of the plot?
Yeah, so as you can see by the sign behind me, this is a story about love.
Yeah.
And, you know, as all Taylor Swift songs are, but this is teenagers. And as we all know, because either you are a teenager watching this or you have been a teenager once, teenage love can be really, really stupid. What you think can is going to be the love of your life, the amount of emotion that you pour into something, suddenly one day it just no longer matters. And this is a story that explores this. The plot of the song Betty is a guy who is dating this girl and named Betty, and he ends up cheating on her during the summer, presumably while she's gone. And she comes back and she's clearly like very heartbroken. She pushes her homeroom and she doesn't really want anything to do with him, but he's going to do one more attempt to try to win her back by showing up at her party. And the song kind of leaves it at a what happens between the two of them, and I decided to explore that a little bit by using some supernatural elements. And the story will be linked below if you want to listen to that first.
Lovely. So I remember when I told you about this project, you had this story pop in your head right away. And this was back in, I'm wanting to say October. Uh, and you have very much so stuck with the love triangle narrative. Is the story that you have now, is that pretty true to what popped into your head back in October?
For I absolutely love the song Betty, and I just really like how much it tends to capture just what the teenage relationships are like and kind of like the stupid hormones that go along with it. And for me, I really like the fact that it was open ended
Mhm.
because that meant that I got to go in and choose my own ending.
Th- Just so everyone knows, like there are going to be spoilers, so do not just click off of this and go listen to the story on Ashton's page before you continue any further, because there are questions I have that are very much so spoiler. So did you know right away who the villain of the story was going to be? At first, it kind of seemed like James was just kind of like this creepy, stalkerish kind of guy, and then all of a sudden, it kind of switched course in a way, or maybe it didn't, and that's just the way I interpreted it, is it seemed like he was like quite literally maybe under a spell.
Yeah, so I always knew who the villain was going to be, but initially I was going to make her a vampire.
Okay.
And so like they were gonna go out to the garden and he was gonna like lean in for his kiss and then she would just like lean in instead to his like neck and like completely drain the blood from him.
Hmm.
And that was gonna be like my ending. But I kind of decided to change that a little bit to like add a little bit more intrigue, make it so uh Joel's in my story, who's the other girl, ends up getting also wrapped up into this and because in my story Betty is very jealous when she finds out about both her boyfriend James and Jules, who is
Yes.
the other girl not named in this song, coming together and during the summer. So she's using her powers, which she's not a witch, she's a siren.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions because at first I was like, is she a vampire who you just made able to go out into the sun, or is she a siren? Because that fits the whole um like a siren uses a dangerous temptation embodied by a woman, and Then there was also, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but like a succubus.
Yeah, I was going back and forth on those and was just like, no, I kind of want her more so to be like a siren, or else everybody else would be kind of more intrigued by her. But
Okay.
like it was very specifically she came into his life and was like kind of playing with him a bit. Because she wasn't actually interested, she just kind of liked the fact that she was able to get him to pay attention to him.
Yeah, I was going to ask if she was it that she was truly just like upset that he had cheated on her, or was it more so her powers kind of dwindled a little bit because of the separation and she didn't like that?
Yeah, it was her toy was taken away from her.
Hate it when toys are taken away. Um,
And
I really felt I did not. This is no shade to guys named Tyler, by the way, because this is just that happens to be that almost in every teen story that I watch, an asshole's name is Tyler. So this is not towards like any specific Tylers out there. Um, but I kind of felt really bad for Tyler because I was like, okay, so he too was infatuated with Betty. And then not only that, he got what happened to him because of James. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect to feel bad for a Tyler. I thought he was going to be an asshole of the story or something.
yeah, no, he is just unfortunately somebody who had a crush on Betty and saw that she was single, and this guy, the main character James, sees this and he goes online and he like stalks him. It was just like I can't believe that this boring, like nobody theater nerd would ever even like look at her, like let alone touch her.
Oh.
And so what Betty kind of does like through her like siren powers is she kind of brings out like this territorial nature of him.
Mhm.
And I don't know if in the version that I sent you if it's like super obvious, but he is a werewolf. There's a bunch of different supernatural creatures in this.
So wait,
And
James?
yeah,
Okay, that was a question that I had because of how they said it's like he was attacked by a wild animal. And I was like, okay, is there something to him? Like it seems like there might be to Jules at the end. Or is it just this guy is just incredibly strong and can rip someone to shreds?
yeah, no, he is a vampire and like her powers like end up like making it so he ends up using his strength and basically he very much like hurts Tyler and sends him to the hospital.
Okay, so is this town like, is it just this group of people just unfortunately have these things happen to them, or is this is this like a town? I'm going to use a show that maybe you've never seen before, like kind of like Vampire Diaries, where like in this small town there just so happen to be all these supernatural beings.
Yeah, there just so happened to be like all of their lives ended up being like interconnected because I have another character named Ines who like is picking up on literally everything that is happening.
Yeah.
And
So like that nosy bitch Inez kind of knows it. Like she really knows, so we can't even be mad at her this time.
yeah, and but nobody believes her because why would there be supernatural characters in this town? Like why would there be a animal with like human-like features that attacked Tyler and sent him to the hospital? Like that's stupid. Like shut up, Inez.
Yeah, it's like psh, reading way too many books, girl. So there's a line where Betty says you're like a devoted pup to James, and that was kind of my first signal that she was something like, I mean, obviously she was something because he seemed very under a spell, but of maybe where the whole question of being like a siren versus maybe a vampire was kind of thrown in because I know even though they were going out in sunlight and everything, there's the whole being like, what is it, sired to somebody or something like when you turn them. So I
Yeah,
wasn't sure if that was what was going on. So Jules at the end has nothing to do with what Betty actually is. It's just Betty has control over people. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay, cool.
So and then Jules is a vampire.
Okay.
Just to, finish up that little triangle of supernatural.
Gotcha,
Characters.
gotcha. So you gave every single person in this love triangle their own supernatural kind of, I don't want to say flaw or ability. Those aren't the correct words, I guess. They're all
Ability
different.
still
Yeah. They're all
works.
different. So when you threw the mention of the cardigan in there,
Yes.
and I like that it was kind of almost like an obsessive ex's like mementos from like an ex-lover, and it's never intended for anybody else, but then Jules, hey, look at her, she's wearing it, and it really sets him off. Uh, so how, I guess, was that something that you just kind of threw in there, or were you just kind of thinking of this intertwined with the song Cardigan, or was it simply based off like the line standing in your cardigan?
I really like to view those two songs. Like, I haven't really looked into how the songs are supposed to like interconnect, but yes, I very much think that like it's just like somebody's like discarded cardigan, or I can't remember the line. I'm sure that you know the line, but it's just discarded like under the bed. Nobody really like it's not paid attention to
Mhm.
anymore, and that's why I'm kind of thinking like initially it's like this one thing that he's obsessed with, and then of course Jules is coming over and staying the night, and it's when he started getting like lost and he's not even going to remember it until
Mhm.
suddenly she is wearing it again. And it's just like this trigger because the scent was still on it, so there was like a tiny little bit where he was still able to like remember her, but only faintly.
Okay, so like the whole scent thing, was that since he's a werewolf, was that more than just like, oh, someone's lingering scent? Was it he could literally smell more than other people, or am I reading too much into that?
I think that that's a safe thing to say. I don't really go into that too much,
Okay.
but I do think that's safe to say. Like she thought that that would kind of help
Okay.
make sure that her spell was able to stay all summer.
Gotcha, gotcha. And when he is at the party with, I know we're kind of jumping from place to place. So at the party, he seems to be having several drinks. So are these normal drinks or is there anything to them? Because I know that she's a siren, so she probably doesn't need to do anything to anyone, but I'm asking because I know that there have been some things in the past stories where I'm like, maybe you don't want to drink anything.
Yeah, no, these are normal drinks where he's just trying to figure out like his nerves because he has in his head like that he's going to be there at the door and he's going to be able to like greet her and they're going to be able to talk, and then suddenly it's not her and he has no idea where she even is and there's so many people around.
Which is such like a teenage boy thing to think because her response to him coming to the party was not very welcoming.
No, it wasn't.
It's just like, yeah,
He was
yes, I will get her back here.
right, like
When,
obviously she wants me because
yeah,
she invited me to her party, kind of.
yeah, kind of. Yeah, I like that because it's just such a teenagery thing of not really reading what's being said. It's just more like, yeah, come if you want. And translation, I don't really want you to, but if you want to like freaking embarrass yourself, I guess, come on. Um,
Right.
but I know that I just like, and I know that he's the victim here, but I also kind of wanted to just like slap him because I'm just like, why are you like allowing this girl to come over after you had all this trouble? Teenage boys are stupid. Teenage
They
girls
are.
are too, but like teenagers in general, I'm just like, oh boy, what did you just do? Why did you just invite Jules or like let Jules come over when you just had all this trouble?
Right. And then she like starts making out with him. He's just like, no, like, why would you think I wanted something physical, even though we were literally physical with each other all summer?
Yeah, it's like,
And you're
I
inviting
mean,
me over at nighttime.
yeah, I mean, like, not to say you can't invite people over just to talk to them, but it's just kind of you went. you had this big thing that blew up your relationship, and now you're like, you know, it would be a great idea. And I like that because it's like I said, it's such a teenagery thing to do. It kind of reminds me of the line of not like literally the line, but along the same lines of such a teenagery thing to do or say. Like that is such a teenagery action. And then I know that in the song, there's such the perfect parallel of like the boy and just being a teenager with the whole plus I saw you dance with him, which I liked how you tied that
There you
in the
go.
dance. I don't know why that's like, it's just such a I know I'm repeating myself, such a teenagery thing, and that I just love that line, so I like that you actually tied that one in there because maybe a lot of people do talk about it, and I just don't know because of maybe I'm not on the right side of the internet. I don't know. But that's always for some reason been my favorite line, so I was really happy that you tied it in there in a way to where I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It, yeah, because like when I listen to Betty, it almost feels like that's his justification for cheating on her is like, well, I saw you with him, so
Yeah.
I decided to be with her.
Yeah. So it's very like non-logical logic kind of. And so when she goes away, since she is a siren, so his feelings towards Jules, would you say that those ones are actually real versus Betty's being more like kind of fabricated through her magic?
Definitely. Like
Okay.
I think that he had like an actual connection with her, which is what makes the fact that in the end, um, she ends up killing him
Yeah,
that
which
much
is
more tragic.
yeah, which is why it's just extra like, oh, that hurts because I got that feeling and I was like, oh, she actually cares about him and she has to like kill him.
Yeah,
And I know that you didn't go much further into that, and if this is left up to interpretation, then that's fine. But I was wondering, so we know that Jules kills James because Betty basically makes her. Does Jules have to live with that, or is Jules gonna be a goner?
oh no, Jules has to live with that.
Oh no, that's so sad.
I know, it's not a happy end. Betty is not a nice girl.
Ashton, why are you just torturing these teenagers?
Because if you read any type of YA, all of the teenagers get tortured all the time. They all have these big emotions and they all have to deal with
Oh,
them. And it's just like you always wonder like what happens to them for the rest of their life after like all of these huge things happen to them so early.
oh. Yeah, it was that was my big question was that because I was like, I mean, it'd be kinder for her to be killed afterwards.
Yeah,
But
that's not how Betty works. Betty's a jealous
um,
bitch.
so and I know I'm going on to things that are off page here, but I'm like kind of really interested in, I guess, I don't know if you'd call it the lore of Betty. So
Yeah.
since she is a siren, does she age like everybody else, or is she just constantly going to be a teenager and killing poor teenage
Um,
boys?
I I don't know. I actually haven't thought about that.
Oh.
I think that probably she ages. Like she's definitely the same age as them in the story. It's not like this has been a continual cycle for
Okay.
her.
Yeah.
This is just
Like,
her, because her mentality is still very teenage.
yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering because I don't know, sometimes I think too much into stories. Like sometimes I take them at face value and then sometimes I'm like, but wait, is there more? So I uh I wasn't sure and I was very interested. I'm just like, what is this Betty girl gonna do after this story? Is she going to continue her wicked ways?
Probably.
Just with
Because that
adult
was one of
men.
the things, yeah. Because that was like one of the things that, because in the story, she becomes kind of like obsessed with James after he hurts Tyler for her.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of Where was I going with this thought? Oh, anyway, so like that's when she starts to kind of understand herself and like her power, and that's
Mhm.
when she actually finally starts to respect him. She's like, oh, I can make this guy like literally kill or want to kill for me and like hurt other people for me. So she's kind of like in her villain arc right now.
Yeah, I remember hearing the what was the line? I'm trying to think specifically of the line of how, yeah, I felt bad for Tyler, but I liked that somebody was willing to do that for me. And right away, I was like, maybe you shouldn't like that. Maybe, I mean, sure, if you're actually being harmed, that's a good thing for someone to
Yeah.
help
And
you
like I
out.
didn't know
But
it.
I was just like, maybe you shouldn't like that, Betty. But I guess that makes sense with her being the way that she is.
Yeah, I also didn't say it, but Tyler was totally innocent the entire time. Like there was absolutely nothing bad about Tyler. Like he didn't like do anything to make her angry. She just wanted to see what James would do.
How bad. He was just used. Just totally used.
He
Poor
was
little
just
drama
used.
kid.
Yeah,
Drama kids always take all the heat.
they do.
Yeah.
He's just like, I really just wanted to perform in a Midsummer's Night Dream. I didn't really think I would actually become the ass.
Oh,
Poor Tyler.
justice for Tyler.
Yeah,
So,
R.I.P.
how long did it take you to write this one?
This took me so many times, and like as of today, technically it's not finished. Like the plot is there, but for some reason I am realizing that I can't write a story that I like with my pen anymore. Like I have to be at a computer typing in order for me to like love it. And
Yeah.
I don't really know when that happened because I used to write stories by hand all the time, but nowadays it's just like this is like I give the story like that you've read like a D, and the story that I'm like fixing up and like working on like the details to make it flow better. I'm just like I like this. Like I think that it's still a little cut and dry for my taste, which I don't know. I'm the author, so take my
Oh, you're
opinion
always
on
your
this
own worst
however you
critic.
want to.
So what you're telling me is we're doing this interview and then it's going to be posted and I'm going to wish that I would have had other questions for you because there's going to be more.
Yeah,
Cool.
you're so welcome. But the plot's there. Like
Yeah.
we are completely covering the plot.
Yeah, I do like the whole how she kind of just becomes obsessed with him because of what he did. And I find it very interesting because I know that she's a siren and everything, but there are actual people out there who would consider that a turn on. So I found that really interesting because even though she is like a siren and she has her powers and then they fade because she's away and then she's like, oh no, and then all that stuff like there it just kind of also had a little hint of reality in there of some people really do find people attractive when they know they'll hurt someone for them. And I was just like,
Yeah,
Betty, 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 Betty.
right. And because like by the time she leaves for the summer, she's like legitimately like, don't you dare go and cheat on me. Like I have feelings for you. And he's just like, yeah, I absolutely have feelings for you. Like each time I look into your eyes, like how could I ever love anybody else?
Yeah, and that's kind of like a weird thing to go away and just be like, don't you dare cheat on me. And it's because it's like, oh, were you suspecting? But no, I guess it's more so her powers weren't going to be in full effect.
Yeah, because like she has no idea whether or not he has like legitimate feelings for her or not.
Yeah, and that's kind of something too, where, and I know we're going like past the story now, but where I do kind of wonder if that is an issue for her, where like, I don't want to say, like, does it actually hurt her not knowing, but she continues to like she uses her powers anyway, or is it just something like she doesn't really care, but she only cares once it occurs? If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
I'd like to think of her as kind of like more of an immature person with her powers, but she doesn't quite understand the full effect of them.
Okay.
So, in ways like, yes, she is obviously um, seducing him, but whether or not it's an actual like attempted seduction
Hmm.
is kind of more ambiguous
Gotcha.
because she really doesn't like how much he is. Because James throughout the story is basically like stalking her.
Yeah, that's
And she's just like, this is creepy. Like, stop. Why are you outside of my house at 10 p.m.?
yeah, that's why I thought he was going to be the villain at first because I was like, why are you doing this, you weirdo? And then
Yeah,
it makes a little sense, but then she's just kind of like, no. It's like I want you obsessed with me, but I don't want you watching me.
right. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, I want you to buy me roses. I don't want you to be outside of my house with binoculars. Not that he was outside of her house with binoculars, but
So
it was
would you
getting to
s-
that point.
so would you say that Betty, though she's a siren, she's also like she's not completely evil, she's just immature with the power that she has? Is that what you were going for?
Initially, and then I think initially when they like are dating before she breaks up with him, yes.
Hmm.
And then she kind of just has this whole like infatuation by the fact that he's willing to hurt another person for her.
And
And
then
that's when
it's
she kind
yeah,
of, yeah, that's when she starts kind of experimenting with it a little bit and like kind of starting to like love her powers
he opened her
that
eyes
much
to the
more.
dark ways.
Yes, he did. And it was entirely her fault.
Well, I'm very excited to see what you've changed. I think that you have a solid storyline here. Like I really like the whole like like I said at first I was like what the heck is she? And it wasn't until the very last line that I was like is that what she is? I thought she was a vampire and maybe turned
Yeah.
Jules or something. I was like, but is this what she really is? So you still had like
And
that mystery in there.
yeah, and then like who knows? Like maybe Jules and Betty like go at it afterwards because Jules has her powers and she knows what Betty is.
Sequel.
Yeah. Getting Ness involved,
Oh my
get her turned
gosh.
into a vampire, have a little
Man,
army.
poor Inez, always the nosy bitch in the story.
I didn't even realize that Taylor Swift sung a girl's name until I was like writing the story. Like what I thought the lyrics were didn't make sense, but I had no idea what she was saying.
Oh,
Like
what?
I thought the line was, "You heard the rumors from me next."
Oh,
You don't
okay.
believe a word that she says normally, but this time it
Yeah.
was true. I was just like, that doesn't make sense because this is about a boy, but sure, whatever. And I
Yeah,
was just like, oh,
fun fact, and I didn't know this until everyone started talking about it, because though I like really love Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds as actors, I like don't really know much about their personal lives. Inez, Betty, and James, I guess, are all of their daughters' names.
oh, nice.
And I just every time I hear that, like in the song, like you heard the rumors storming as you can't believe it, think like, and then also in your story, I'm like, man, there. I just think of that meme where it's like Blake and Ryan's poor daughter Inez gonna grow up thinking everyone thinks she's a nosy bitch. I'm just like,
Yeah,
but
see,
at the end of the day, she's gonna be like, whatever. I'm the one with the name in the song.
right. Yeah, and my rendition, it's not that she was really a nosy bitch, it was more of she was like one of those weird girls that was super into the supernatural and like cryptids and like all of that, which is fine. It might even be fine for Gen Z to be into that. I don't know. You guys are so much like cooler than we were in school, but with accepted people. But anyways, when Kayla and I were in high school, if you were that person, everybody made fun of you.
Mm, yep. So
Like
yeah,
you kept that silent. And that was the nest in the story. It was just this weird girl who was into all of this that nobody cared to believe at all.
Inez. She's just like, I freaking told you guys. I told you. No one wanted to believe me. So I have another question, and I can't remember if you answered it already. So I know that you decided to go with her being a siren. What made you kind of flip-flop between siren and vampire, or siren and suck? I can't remember which two you said you flip-flop between.
Siren and vampire for her.
Okay.
So I decided to do that just because I didn't think that the story between James and Jules was finished yet. And I kind of just wanted to give it more of a tragic ending than more of a, because I thought that Betty attacking him, it might not have been an obvious ending, but to me it kind of felt like an obvious ending, so I wanted to like kind of extend the story just a little bit further.
Okay.
And so I gave that power to Jules instead.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really like that you kind of flipped it because I was sitting here thinking, like, if she's a siren, how is she like Jules doing so I like that there was that explanation there of it's just kind of like all these supernatural beings in this one town. I I don't know, I kind of eat that stuff up because I'm
Yeah.
basic like that, I guess. But like like I didn't know he was a werewolf because even though it was kind of hinted at the same time, I don't remember it ever like specifically saying. So,
Yeah, like it never says, but like he does admit to being the one that does it and that he's
yeah.
pretty glad that nobody ever listens to Ines, and the way that she describes him is like a animal with like human like features. So I never go like specifically into detail, but there's like hints of like, oh, like you're such a good pup, and like him deciding to like
Oh,
howl.
I didn't even catch like, and I specifically pointed out that line and I didn't put two and two together.
Yes,
I'm mad at
like
myself now.
because Joel's kind of new, or not Joel's,
Betty.
Betty kind of new.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen. Well, I guess I'll wait until you post your other one since you said you added more stuff to it or like
Yeah,
rearrange stuff. But now I'm just mad at myself now.
you're good. I was like, I don't know if this is obvious enough, so I just made it like a little bit more obvious in the rewrite. And also, I
Mhm.
appreciate you for actually humoring me with that because this has been like quite a week.
I just I didn't, I don't know. I'm like, you said that you had a story pop in your head right away, like with this one. And I was just like, dang, where did that come from? Like, so I was very excited to hear it the first time around. And now I'm very excited knowing that there's stuff that I haven't even heard yet. I am very excited to see what it is that you have added or elaborated on because like I said, it's a solid storyline and I'm also going to have to listen to it now knowing that James is a werewolf and now that whole you're like a devoted pup line is gonna hit very differently. Because at first I was like, oh man, that's insulting, but I guess she gets away with it because she's hot. And now there's
Yeah.
actually something like that I know is to it. So it's gonna hit way different, and I'm excited to kind of hear your full story once it's done and hear that and just like know this time.
Well,
That's a good
good.
little hint. That's a good little hint that you put in there because like sorry, I know I cut you off. I was just it's a nice hint. A hint I did not catch, but it's a very good one, and I'm very happy that you said something about it. All right, so if you were interested in hearing Lurking Assumptions, you can go to Ashton's channel.
And check Kayla's story on February 13th. Check it out for Seven because another great song off of uh
Folklore.
her folklore Evermore combo. We do these every 13th of each month, and we have two other. She has two other stories. She has House Held by Ivy, which is based off of Ivy, and also Monster at Midnight, which is based off of New Year's Day, and I have New Year's Day, which is based off of New Year's Day.
Yes, and then now this one, lurking assumptions. So you have a variety to choose from. And yeah, I guess we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.